website. I had to go to an old email to be able to click on today. It just showed the calendar, but it didn't show the Zoom link when I clicked on
When you
the,
clicked on the calendar,
yeah, it did not show the Zoom link.
okay, I'll have to figure that out. I thought I had it on all of them, but
Well,
excuse me.
that doesn't make any sense. I got my Zoom link from you. Yeah, you're the
Right.
one that sent me the link.
Okay, I'll have to figure that.
If you go on the website and look at it, it just shows the calendar. It doesn't show the
Okay.
Zoom link when you
Yeah,
click on it.
okay, all right. Let's see. I'll have to talk with Bruce about what's going on with that then. Because yeah, you should be able to click on it right on the calendar. Let me check real quick while we're here.
Okay. All right. Thank
Uh,
you.
you're welcome. Thank you. And hello, everybody. Welcome, welcome, welcome. And we are here for our study of chapter 25 with uh, Dove and Karen and a whole group of beautiful people. So uh, I'm going to turn the mic over to you, Dove Fishman or Karen Parente. This mic is all yours.
Okay, thank you so much, Lynn. And thanks all for being here. I don't know where we ended. Does anyone know where we picked up today?
I think we're on paragraph
10.
10. Thank you, Lynn.
Paragraph 10.
Yeah.
Section,
Section 7, the Rock of Salvation.
very good. Okay, wonderful. And you want to lead us off, Cam? First of all,
Yeah, I'd love to lead us off with the truly helpful prayer.
do that. Yes.
Everybody could just sink into the quiet for a minute. And remember that I am here only to be truly helpful. I am here to represent him who sent me. Don't have to worry about what to say or what to do, because he who sent me will direct me. I am content to be wherever he wishes, knowing that he goes there with me. I will be healed, and I will let him teach me to heal. Amen.
Amen. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you so much. You want to start us off on where we are?
Sure. Paragraph 10. What is dependable except God's love? And where does sanity abide except in him? The one who speaks for him can show you this, and the alternative he chose especially for you. It is God's will that you remember this and so emerge from deepest mourning into perfect joy. Accept the function that has been assigned to you in God's own plan to show his son that hell and heaven are different, not the same, and that in heaven they are all the same, without the differences which would have made a hell of heaven and a heaven of hell, and had such insanity been possible. So what is dependable except God's love? Nothing. Nothing is dependable except God's love. And where does sanity abide except in him? The one who speaks for him can show you this. And this is the Holy Spirit for me. The one who speaks for God, the voice for God, is the only sane voice that I listen to when I'm willing to listen, when the insane thoughts of the ego are trying to invade my mind. I know that the voice for God is dependable, it's certain, it's sure. It always gives me the right answer. I'm always at peace when I accept it. When I relinquish my all of it over, it's just then there is heaven. There is the peace of God. You know, that is the dependable, the dependability that I count on when I need it. So that's all I have for now, and turn it over to Dove or anyone else who would like to share.
This looks like all that's real is the love of God. All that's real is eternal, doesn't change. And of course, we made a world that lives in time, always changing. You never know what's up, what's down, what's good, what's bad, what's right, what's wrong, because we made a world that is different than the changeless. We made a world that is in constant flux, constant change. I'm looking at the sentence that says, it's God's will that you remember this. And so you emerge from the deepest mourning into perfect joy. Kind of reminds me of Susan Michelle's book. The title of her book is From Suicide to Joy. That's the name of her book. That's the purpose of being here in this world, is to learn the lesson that you cannot deny the truth. You cannot deny the love of God. You can try, but you're going to have a lot of pain. Denial is a source of pain. Denial is another word for resistance. And Karen called me today and said, you always say, when Ken Webber says lesson 135 is the atonement lesson. And I've been saying that for years. I say, Ken Webber called lesson 135 the atonement lesson. I don't know why he does. And Karen called me this morning and said, I know why he calls it the atonement lesson. Because lesson 135 says, if I defend myself, I'm attacking myself. And Karen, do you want to share on it? Go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah, I had an aha moment, and that we're defending against the truth of who we are, and the truth of who we are is not separate from God. We could never be separate. We could never be separate from God or each other. So if I'm defending myself, I'm attacking the truth of who I am, which is actually the atonement principle. It says I never separated. The separation never happened. So it makes perfect sense now, and it just hit me because I was listening to Dove and on his Sunday teaching, and he said it again. He said, Ken Wapnick said, this is the atonement lesson. And when I heard it, it just clicked in that moment. And interestingly enough, Dove, you even shared during your teaching about the atonement and that the separation never happened. So that's what it's about. That's exactly what it's about, that we could never separate from God. We never separated from God, that we're still, we're dreaming. This is a dream, we're at home dreaming of exile. And when we remember the truth, we can be back in that peace, And I love what you reminded us of, that this is changeless, that God's love that's the key. It's changeless. It's dependable because it never changes. That is the certainty of God. It never changes. So thank you for that reminder.
Okay. And I'm glad I turned it back to you because you shared it so beautifully. If you look at lesson 135, I usually, of course, paragraph 18 is my favorite paragraph of the course. What can you not accept if you but knew that everything that happens, all events, is planned by one whose only purpose is your good, planned for you. So everything that happens here happens perfectly. Now, if you don't trust that, then you have to do your own planning. Notice paragraphs 11 through 17 starts with a healed mind doesn't plan. It receives wisdom not of its own. So from 11 to 17, he's talking about do not plan. Because only the ego plans, because the ego doesn't trust anything, figures I got to plan. No, if you, the people that we had Shaman Elizabeth here last Tuesday, and she was I think the question was asked of her, how do you do your healing? He said, well, I asked the person to think of some natural surroundings where they're with plants and trees, which is the laws of God, laws of nature, and animals. And from there, we relaxed into it. So we're not thinking about the things of this world, which is the laws of man. The funniest thing this morning, Cora Yang from China, I think she was she attended our group. Obviously, when was it? It was Saturday. Yeah, it was Saturday, I guess. She attended Saturday. Was it Saturday? Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. I happened to be talking to her today. She sent me a video, and she said the same thing that Shaman Elizabeth said. She said, I like to get into nature where it's under the laws of God, and I feel very healed and very natural. So basically, I don't know how that really came up, but oh yeah, planning, ego plans, spirit relaxes, and I always say from Journey Beyond Words, which is the companion to the workbook of the Course in Miracles, which was put out by Brent Haskell. In that book, Yeshua says, "Do you know what the secret of salvation is?" And I always say, he's going to say the secret of salvation is I'm doing this to myself. And he doesn't. He says the secret of salvation is relax your mind, release, big word for Rafi, release your thoughts and let go. Can you let go even more than that? So, you don't have to be a metaphysical wizard to do these things. You just have to get into nature, into relaxing into what is real, what is natural, what is you. That's it. So, are there any other thoughts, questions?
Rafi.
I just want to extend on something that just Steph said about can you let it go and can we get any better? In the 6 steps of the release technique, step number 6 is could you let this go? Could you see if it gets any better? Could you let this go and see if it gets any better? And you just keep doing that, because once you get high, leftovers used to say, don't release to get high to release. So the higher you get, the easier it is to let go of stuff. And you're in that, what's the word? I don't know. In indescribable flow. Your mind can't understand it, but we discriminate and realize, it has nothing to do with us. And the higher you get, the higher you can go until you get to the point where the mind is completely quiet. And that's where what you call salvation is, or realization, or whatever, transcendence, call it whatever you want, but that's where it is. That's what the Buddha did. He sat under a tree for a long time, getting quieter and quieter and quieter, and finally he woke up. And what that says that exactly. Beautiful, Doug. Beautiful.
Thank you, Rafi. Thank you. Anyone else before we move on? Paragraph 11. Who wants to take paragraph 11? Anyone?
I'm happy to read.
Okay, thanks, Sharonda.
It's so good to be with you.
Thank you.
And let me just say, I sometimes get on Thursday morning when I wake up here, and I don't think I'm not hearing live. I'm hearing, because you guys do that at 5:30, for God's sake. But oh my God, your Thankful Thursday has been on fire these last couple of weeks. I just want to say thank you so much. What a blessing you are. All right, paragraph 11. The whole belief that someone loses but reflects the underlying tenet, God must be insane. For in this world, it seems that one must gain because another lost. If this were true, then God is mad indeed. But what is this belief except a form of the most basic tenet? Sin is real and rules the world. For every little gain must someone lose and pay exact amount in blood and suffering. For otherwise would evil triumph and destruction be the total cost of any gain at all. I want to read that again. For otherwise would evil triumph and destruction would be the total cost of any gain at all. You who believe that God is mad, look carefully at this and understand that it must be either God or this must be insane, but hardly both. Nice. I'm good. That's so clear to me, you guys.
Okay. Do you want to say anything on it at all, Sharon?
Well, when I read, when Course talks about what we do, it brings up this feeling of I want to cry, but there's no need to cry. It's just choose again and be grateful for the teaching.
Mhm.
That's it, Dove.
Okay, anyone else, Rafi?
I just want to give an example of how that I experienced this morning. I was on the phone with my releasing partner. We work every day. And I said, "What's bothering you today?" And she said, "I have a blotch on my face, a red blotch on my face." And her mind is telling her, and it's just pigs are blood, suffering, insanity. Her mind was telling her that that little red blotch, which is hardly anything, was going to expand and expand, and it's going to be a terrible disease, and it's going to devour her whole body and infect everybody around her. And you know how egos go on and on about this stuff. And but we laughed ourselves silly over this. The insanity of all of this, because as you pointed out in your book, if you can laugh, you can see how insane the illusion is. But there was a perfect example of how it carries everything to the nth degree. How it always makes a worst case scenario, and then even makes that worse. Watch that? Yes. Follow that? Absolutely not. I mean, it could not be more wrong. It says, but either God or this must be insane, but hardly both. Well, there's the insanity. God is infinite perfection and love. There can't be any insanity in that.
Very good. Thanks for that, Rafi. And is there any other share on this paragraph? I see something that sticks out for me, and that's what I put up in the chat. The whole belief that for someone to win, someone has to lose, says that God is crazy, insane, mad. Because the whole idea of heaven or God or love or truth or peace is that we all win together, we all gain together, we are all one together. The idea that somebody has to lose so I can win, which, by the way, if you look at everything in this world, that's pretty much what it is. If you look at sports, there's only one team can win. Everybody else cannot win. So the word that he doesn't use in this paragraph, but says the exact same thing, which he must use 300-400 times, is sacrifice. So whenever he talks about sacrifice, he's talking about the same thing. Sacrifice is either one or the other. Either I win or you win, but if I win, you lose, and if you win, I lose. And I don't really want to lose, so I don't care what happens to you. That's why the world looks the way it does. And people say, well, where is God? God has nothing to do with this world. The reason we're reading chapter 25 is to read about the laws of God, which have nothing to do with the laws of this world or the laws of man. Len, go ahead.
Okay, yeah. So the whole the conflict comes from this belief in what is winning and what is losing, and the idea that that we can be given unequal amount, unequal, that somehow we're not equal, and some win and some lose because because that's the way the world is. That's the rules of the world. But the rules of the world are not the rules of the Holy Spirit. The rules of the Holy Spirit is that we are all equal and we all win, and loss is impossible. And it's just like a wave in the ocean, you know, jumping up and going, way, I'm high up here and I'm better than all the rest of you. And the next thing he's down back in the ocean again and back up and down. That's all our lives are just like waves in the ocean, up and down, up and down, up and down, but always back to equality because that's the truth of what we are. So we have to change our mind about what we believe winning is and what we believe losing is. Because in reality, we cannot lose. There's nothing that can separate us. So, and that's why we suffer. We think I have to hold on to what I've got. I have to save up what I have here. I have to make sure that I'm going to be okay in the future because I have no trust in God or the world that I'm going to be okay. I have to make sure I'm taking care of myself. And when I'm taking care of myself to the exclusion of taking care of my brother, then I'm believing in a loss. I'm believing in scarcity. I'm believing in smallness. What we have to come to understand as teachers of God and miracle workers is that loss is impossible. What we might consider to be a loss in the broad spectrum of everything is seen as an absolute victory. And that's why Jesus says to us, you can't even tell your victories from your loss. You don't even know which are which because you think there's a limit on what can be, but there's no limit in God. So this is it. No one can gain and no one can lose. And if you think that you are losing, which is the only thing you have control, you don't have control over how other people experience. You have control only of your own experience. I have control of my own experience. And my own experience says everything that happens is within the realm of uh, my experience of this dream. None of it is real. The ocean, no drop of the ocean is any higher or different than any other drop of the ocean. That whole understanding of our equality, that's the only truth that's real, the only thing that's real. And anyway, that's all I have to say about that. And if we thought God could have made a world like that, then he would be insane. If God made a world like that, he would be insane. All right, thank you for letting me share.
Thank you so much, Lynn. Karen, go ahead.
Thank you, Lynn, and thank you, Dov. You both were perfect. Everything you shared was beautifully perfect. And I love what Dov shared on sacrifice. And he tells us in the course that sacrifice is totally unknown to God. God does not know sacrifice because God gives all to all. And that is the oneness that Lynn was talking about. And it's true. I mean, it's only equality. It's only the oneness. And, you know, my personal experience with this, when I was, the reason I was going through divorce with my husband was over, believe it or not, of the big root of all evil they say in the world, which I don't believe it's not the root of all evil, but in this world it is money. And he did not want to share with me. He wanted to, he wanted to, he, the house that we lived in was his father's house that we lived in together for many, many, many years. And when I asked him to put my name on the house, he didn't want to. He didn't want to put my name on the house because he felt it was his family's home and his mother's home. And like I said, well, what am I? I'm your wife. You know, like, are you serious? Like, I couldn't understand that. Like, I'm such a giving person and I've been that way my whole entire life. And I wasn't like, so this was a huge issue for me. And so I wasn't deserving. And I felt so like he's talking about here, this is not love. And this is not, not what I want in a relationship. So that was one of the main reasons. Unfortunately, it was over money. And, you know, we could have worked it out and but I didn't. It was just too much. But anyway, so too much of a long story to get into, but that's just an example of someone thinking they deserve more and someone else deserves less. Like, it just doesn't make sense to me. You know, we are all equal. And especially, I think, in a marriage too, because you're supposed to be partners, you know, any relationship, whether you're married or not, you're partners. But there's a really good paragraph I'm going to read. It's in the next chapter, chapter 26. Many forms, one correction. Paragraph 2 is exactly what this is talking about. He says, the Holy Spirit offers you release from every problem that you think you have. And this is the beliefs. We think we have these problems. They are the same to him because each one, regardless of the form it seems to take, is a demand that someone suffer loss and make a sacrifice that you might gain. And when the situation is worked out so no one loses, is the problem gone because it was an error in perception that now has been corrected. One mistake is not more difficult for him to bring to truth than another, for there is but one mistake. The whole idea that loss is possible and could result in gain for anyone. If this were true, then God would be unfair. Sin would be possible, attack be justified, and vengeance fair. So it's insanity, it's insane. And the other truth of the truth is that we never separated from God. So we are already perfect, whole, and complete. There is no loss. Thank you.
Thank you for that, Carol. That's very, very clear. I'm going to get back to that in a minute. Sharanda and then Mikhail.
Hey, thank you. Lynn, as you were going into what you were saying, I was beginning to pay attention to this thing about the idea that someone can lose. I've really been playing that out in my interactions with people where I experience I'm sensitive to it in like an observing manner. And I also have a sensitivity I need to choose beyond. I need to choose not to be so sensitive. But I'm aware of dynamics with people where people are showing up in a dominating manner. This is all me, I get it. But and I notice interactions where people just respond and there's not that dynamic and it's so free and open and loving and inclusive. And like if I call my sister, I have to let go of this thought. I have to choose differently how I see her because she can show up like a real alpha dog. And so look who's got the problem. Look who's judging, because I'm the one experiencing that someone can take something from me and it's a lie. And I'm experiencing that in a bunch of areas. This paragraph also, it kind of smacks of what's going on in the world to me, like how could it not? Because people are angry. There's been I'm just even thinking in our country, there's been this disillusionment and this sense of powerlessness and hopelessness, and people want someone to pay for it, and at whatever cost someone needs to pay, and someone's the guilty one. And so there's this victimization and feeling like the victim and someone needs to pay. And I'm really grateful for our study together and for course, which says to me, look again, choose to look with the vision of Christ, ask to see this differently. And just that willingness to choose another way of seeing and being, but it's really choosing another identity. I can't not see my brother as myself. I can't not. There's no place I can be who I am not, nor can my brother. So this is a real good teaching for me today. Thank you, people.
Thank you, Sharanda. Okay. Mikhail, go ahead.
Yeah, I love all your sharings. Thank you. And Karen, as far as you not wanting to feel like you wanted to be married at that point when your husband didn't want to include you on the deed, or you could have somehow made sure that you were taken care of if something happened to him, which something did happen to him. I totally can understand and how you're feeling. And it made me think of Ken Wapnick and Gloria Wapnick, and when they were out to dinner or lunch together, somebody asked, or the waitress asked Ken what he would like to eat, have as his meal on the menu. And he said, I'll have whatever Gloria is having. And that's because he loved her and he didn't see himself separate from her. So how your husband was coming from the scarcity principle. And so it's understandable on a human form level how you felt, because his level was on the scarcity level, and that's not a level that is coming from love. So that's all I wanted to say. Thank you, Karen.
All
You
right.
hit bingo, bingo, bingo. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, and I call scarcity scare city, because there's fear there. Fear there's not enough. Now, there, there's another principle in this paragraph, which he doesn't mention, but I'm gonna bring it together. My birthday lesson, lesson 133, I will not value what is valueless. What's valuable belongs to me. So the only things that you could lose in this world are things that have no value whatsoever. He says anything that begins in time and ends in time has temporary value and is not really worth you, the eternal, to value it at all. So as long as you value the valueless, and I have found in my own life that once you begin to recognize that you're given everything you need, you can give up scarcity, because the truth is everything that you need to fulfill your lessons for coming here are given to you. And that to me is as real as anything these days. You don't have to worry about the money. You have always enough to fulfill the lesson that you came here for. So when Jesus says, I will never leave you comfortless, he doesn't mean he's going to give you everything, but you always have exactly enough for what it is that you need to fulfill your purpose for being here in this world. And I just really learned that recently. Until then, you keep looking at the numbers. Well, is this going to work? I better do this. I better cut back here. No, you don't have to ever cut back on anything. You always have exactly what you need. And I want to say the other thing that comes up for me is the guy who turned me on to the Course in Miracles, a guy named Stuart Emery, way back in 1977. He was one of the guys that started us, but he had his own thing called actualizations, which I took. And one of the things he spoke about is about win-lose, and how win-lose really doesn't have any real meaning. He says, how long do you think Las Vegas, which is the home of some people win and some people lose, would last if you went there for the weekend, and if you lost a lot of money, when you got to the airport, they gave you the money back, so you went home with the same money you came. And conversely, if you went to Vegas for the weekend and you lost a lot of money, if you won a lot of money, conversely, if you won a lot of money and you got to the airport, they took it all back. How long do you think people would keep going to Las Vegas? Nobody would go to Las Vegas, because the whole idea of coming to this world is I'm going to get something. I need more. More is the Antichrist. I want more. So once you realize that what's real, you already have. He tells you that in what's lesson 133. What's valuable belongs to you and belongs to all equally. And the key word here in this section, chapter 25, is all about equality. And I put it on the board a little bit earlier. I don't know if anyone saw it. The two conditions for entering heaven, one is peace. You must have peace of mind. That's what the goal of this course is, peace. And the other is equality. Those are the only two conditions for entering the mind of God or heaven, the awareness of oneness. And there's a line in the course: you cannot enter his presence if you attack his son. So if you make anybody different than you, unequal to you, separate from you, even though you have the peace of God, that's not enough to remember the truth of heaven and the awareness of oneness. So equality, which is really what for me, chapter 25 is all about equality. And of course, you notice I'm wearing my equality hat today. Which I actually I don't wear it a lot while we're on the computer, but I do wear it out a lot. And was given to me by Lisa Natoli about 5-6 years ago in San Francisco. That's it. Any thoughts, questions? Hi, Myrna. Always good seeing you here.
Sharonda and then Lynn.
Hey, thank you. So this brought up some other thoughts for me. It's that it's valuing what is valueless. But giving value to something that doesn't have the meaning I give it. My parents moved to a lake home in 1974, just north of Milwaukee. That's the year I left home too. I graduated and moved, and now they're living on a lake. But you know, I had a hard time in the past as my mom and dad sold their home, and that property went into the hands of my sister, which was fine. I had moved to the Southwest. It wasn't for me to be living back in Wisconsin. I was enthralled with the Southwest. But Sam, my sister Sandy, and her partner Linda had the lake home. And I had real attachment to that property staying in the family name. Here I'm giving something of value, you know, or meaning that had none. And I would have the thought, well, is that going to go, could that go to Linda and her family? And then my thought of, well, I didn't want that. I wanted to stay in our lineage. And now just recently that property belongs to my sister's daughter, my niece, and her husband. It's not in the Selhausen name at all. And I'm like, it's more and more just okay, but I've had to really let go of that. What does that have to do with me? Now I live west of I moved to Albuquerque, but now I even live west of the Rio Grande. Now I'm in Arizona. It's like it never had anything to do with me and ownership. And just that, and so I'm aware of the things I give value to, and then I have pain about it. I've moved a bunch of times, and I'm just going to share this yet too. Before I moved up to Cornville here in Arizona, just south of Sedona, I was letting go of all kinds of things I valued so much and had in storage, paying for storage and then giving them away, and then, you know, that kind of thing. I basically gave things away, but I had a really excellent stereo system. And I thought, do I just give this to Goodwill? And, you know, I wanted to have it be a special giveaway. I'm watching myself through the whole process, all the meaning I'm giving anything. And I ended up giving it to my friend Cindy, and her and her partner, Rob, they're very into music. But you know, I got from Rob a text message that said, the stereo system is awesome. Thank you so much. And I was like, that's what I wanted, was that personal something about someone really recognizing what a neat system was and appreciating the value of it. And even as I'm telling you all this, it's all nothing. It's all just the meaning I gave it, all this special item I have to give to somebody who's special to me. And oh my God, I could choke. And so many things that I've given away like that I now don't have. Sometimes I think about it and it's like, now I want it back. No, it's gone. It was for me to give away. Let go, let go, let go. Breathe, be at peace, be here now. And boy, it's a real journey to keep just letting go and to not give it any meaning. It doesn't have any value or meaning. I'm where I need to be, doing what I need to be, and free of so much of that clutter. So now I need to free my mind of the clutter, my thought of the clutter. Thank you for hearing that, my friends.
Randy, that's such a beautiful story. Thank you. And whenever you give anything away, the love that you give comes back to you, and everything that you give in this world that's loving is given to you always. It's put into your storage in eternity. So you're always adding love. You can't add anything else. You can only add the love of giving. Giving, what I give, I receive. Lesson 126. Lynn, go ahead.
Okay, well, Sharonda just about said everything. So there's really not much more that I could, basically that was what I was going to say. It's the meaning that you give to things. And when I give things a meaning and say, you know, this is important to me, this is something that I love, this is something that I want to keep, this is something I think I need. If I didn't have it, I would be bereft. And you know, the reality of it is we always have everything that we ever had. There's never a time that we don't have what we have had. And you know, I how I came by that because uh I think I've talked a little bit about kind of my little chaotic childhood, that you know, my stepdad was he was, I don't know what, he was up to something all the time, and he would just come home like 3 times. This happened during my that I can recall. You know, that just would come home in the middle of the night. He would be working or something, and he'd come home in the middle of the night and he would just wake us up and say, you know, we gotta go. And we would just pack up whatever we could into our little car and leave. And that would be it. And so, you know, toys, clothes, dolls, books, uh shoes, roller skates, whatever, you know, never to be seen again, you know, it's left for someone else to come. Yeah, I have no idea what they did with those things. But you know, but when I was older, you know, and I would always just be really sad that, you know, I didn't have these things anymore, you know, wondered what happened to them and had a whole idea. You know, I couldn't figure it out. You know, it just, my whole life just kind of looking like that. But then I came to realize, obviously, you know, when I was older, that those things could have been in another room in the same house that I was in, and I wouldn't miss them anymore than I miss them because they were somewhere else with somebody else and some other thing. You know, I've looked for these things on eBay actually, as an adult, like, you know, can I find that doll? Can I find this? Thinking that there was some way that I could have some kind of, you know, reparation for the things that I've lost. Um, but then came to realize that I still have those things. I still have every single thing I ever had and everything that ever was. And this is what I had to come to understand, that there's not a uh there's that it's all in my mind. Everything is in my mind. And like I said, it could be downstairs in my basement right now. And it would be no more distant than it was if they sold it at a thrift store or threw it in the junkyard. You know, it's not here in my hand right now, so there's and I don't really need it right now. So why would I want to go on eBay and seek it out and try to find it? This thing I lost that was so important. You know, I realized that I didn't lose anything, and you don't lose anything. You always have everything you ever had. There's nothing, you have lost nothing, because what we are is not this thing that holds things in our hands. But what we are is the totality of creation. Literally, we are the sum of all creation. So how could anything have ever been lost? How could we have ever missed anything? And the other thing I wanted to say that Sharonda pointed out, I think very clearly, we're always given everything we need when we need it. So it's not like, you know, I have to plan for my future, like Dove was reading from lesson 135. I don't have to plan for anything. I just have to know that whenever I need something, I will have it. And if I needed that doll, it would be here. Anyway, that's all I had to say about that.
Okay, thank you both, Lynn and Sharanda, because you brought up the word meaning. And there's a 3-word sentence in lesson 25, which most of you know is my mantra lesson. I do not know what anything is for. And it starts off, the very first sentence is a 3-word sentence. Purpose is meaning. Now, it goes on to say everything in this world is for you, which is almost the same as my paragraph 18 in lesson 135. But basically, there's only 2 purposes. There's only, in truth, there's only one purpose. the ego's purpose is survival. And if it has to survive, it doesn't care who lives and who dies so it can live. It's that simple. So that's really the belief in sin, which it says in the same paragraph. I think I can put it up here. Yeah, so all it is, it's another form of the more basic tenet, sin is real and rules the world. Sin means it's separation. Sin is separation. If it's about you or me, I want to win. I don't care about you. And that's what sacrifice is. And sacrifice is used about 400 times in A Course in Miracles. That was one of Ken Wapnick's favorite words. And he made you realize that sacrifice is either you or me. He calls it one or the other. So in a world of division, a world of separation, either I win and you lose, or you and I lose, and you better make sure my ego says you ain't gonna lose. Reminds me of the Knickerbockers. New York Knicks lost the 7th game last night. Everybody in New York felt so terrible. Well, why? The Indiana Pacers won, right? So in this world, there's always a winner and a loser. This chapter 25, is telling you, no, there's no winners and losers in reality. We are all one, equal, and the same. Rafi and then Myrna.
Yeah, first of all, I don't want to get into the Knick game yesterday because it's all sports is theater, and so it's definitely entertainment value, and whatever you're learning about winning and losing is valuable. The other thing, you brought up something about ego. His only purpose is survival, and yet it's ego that causes people to commit suicide. How insane is that? Okay, it's so vociferously adamant about being right that I have to survive, I have to survive, but I'm gonna kill myself. And it's okay, it's a dream, it's crazy, there's no reality in any of it. But if you want to get a good hold on how insane it is, how about that?
How about that? Thank you, Rafi. Myrna and then Karen.
Yes, something very interesting happened to me last week. It was in the form of a miracle, a knowing, an awakening. I don't know what it was, but I always had a problem with the illusion. How is it? Why am I safe? And the other person across the ocean lost children in a war. How is that? How do I reconcile that? I always wondered. I feel so safe, and yet how do you explain to somebody who has suffered a great loss that, how do you see it that way? And finally, after all these years, it came to me as an awakening. The awakening is that it is an illusion, and that you're bringing all of this into your world. You're not in their world. You're not brought into their world. You're bringing all of this into your world. So if you're bringing it into your world, it has to be an illusion, because that's really where you're seeing it in this, in this dynamic, in this, recognition, okay, or not recognition, this belief that, the illusion is something that's difficult to understand. What I'm saying is that I came to understand the illusion and feel the illusion finally. And, like Lynn, you were saying you gave things away. Yes, I gave things away. You wish you hadn't, you wanted it back. But that's made me see all the more that that's so much the illusion. That's what it is. And if it's not real, then it's just a dream. And I finally was able to see it in the form that I'd always been looking for. The answer that I wanted is that now I feel it. Now I feel the fact that I'm in this illusion, and that I don't have to worry about anybody else in a sense that, I don't have to worry about them, because they'll be fine as long as in my world, okay, my world that I've made, I can see why I'm safe, because It's only me. That's it. You know, so I have to be safe. And that brought me back to all the near misses I had in my life, you know, where I almost really got run over by a car, you know, a truck was once backing up. And there was, in fact, I was in New York City and I had packages in my hand, and it was very, very crowded. The streets were crowded. I was crossing the street, and suddenly, and I wasn't even aware, I wasn't paying attention. And I see this woman going like that, waving her arms, and automatically I just jumped back and a truck was backing up. How did that save me? What was that moment that I saw this individual, you know, protecting me? In fact, I said to her, you are my guardian angel. And she smiled and we left. But I left. But I'm saying is that if we can really feel that it is illusory, and that, you know, now I understand that it is an illusion, then I can understand more of the Course in Miracles, actually, at a much deeper level.
Thank you, Myrna. Yeah, our lessons are our lessons. Other people's lessons are their lessons. Once you know, you can't reconcile anything in this world of illusion. An illusion, a dream is a dream is a dream. You can't reconcile her dream, my dream. And if you're a student of Rob Schwartz, which you are, you got to kind of recognize that there are no accidents. Everything actually we have asked for and received as we have asked. That's responsibilities for sight, which I say should be in chapter 1 of the course. That you know, beware of the temptation to perceive yourself unfairly treated. You know, and you know, people say, well, why is that happening to me? No, don't ever ask why it's anything happening to you. Ask, what is this teaching me? What is the lesson I'm here to learn? Thank you, Myrna. Karen, go ahead.
Thank you, Myrna. Thank you, Myrna. Thank you, Dove. Thank you, Lynn. Thank you, everyone. And this is a great conversation. And Rafi brought up suicide, and I just wanted to mention the Dove was talking about sacrifice and one or the other, and then there's a line in the course where he says, "Kill or be killed." And when my husband committed suicide, he wrote a note, and in the note, he said, basically, my mom is driving me crazy. His mother, he was taking care of his mother with Alzheimer's. He said, my mom's driving me crazy, and it's either me or her. Kill or be killed. It's either I'm going to kill her, I'm going to kill myself. And he ended up killing himself and let her live. And speaking of the suicide, since Rafi just made me think of this, you know, he committed suicide because he recognized that, you know, by keeping the house and all the money and all the things that he thought were so valuable, he lost the real value of the stuff that meant something to him, the love, you know, that we shared and that he had, and the meaningfulness, that the things that bring meaning to our lives, which is the love. He lost all of that because of this materialistic stuff that is valueless, that means nothing. So all of that he held on to, thinking it was something, and it was nothing. And in the end, he recognized that this world holds nothing that I want. There is nothing in this world. It was hopeless for him. He saw no hope, because he saw there was no hope in this world, and that everything he had, which, I mean, you know, was a lot. They were pretty well off, but doesn't mean anything. It means nothing. So people have died because of this. The Course tells us people actually do commit suicide because they recognize that it means nothing. And if they can't find the true meaning, which is within, and the real value that is within, they actually have no hope. And so I think it's something that taught me a huge lesson, that none of that means anything. I am so safe, secure, and, you know, first time in my life I'm on my own since I left him. I mean, I've been on my own, and I'm so happy. I love it. And I live very humbly. I don't have the big house. I don't have the big car. I don't have nothing that I used to have, but I'm happy. And it's because I don't need all that stuff. And all that stuff was nothing. So I learned that. And what's really valuable, and I'm so grateful. So thanks.
Thank you for that, Karen. Yeah, this has been a really good talk. It's really about what has real value you cannot lose, and what has no value doesn't really mean anything. We've given meaning to the valueless. We give meaning to the meaningless. I mean, that's how. I mean, the first 14 lessons of this course is all about nothing I see here means anything, but in case I give meaning to it, and then he says, my meaningless thoughts are showing me a meaningless world. A meaningless world engenders fear. But then God does not create a meaningless world. That's the first 14 lessons. So you happen to mention people die upon seeing this. There happens to be a line in lesson 132, the one that says there is no world, and it says some people actually, upon seeing this, they actually die because they actually realize that there's nothing here. There is nothing here, but we have, put a lot of value into the valueless. I also think of Byron Katie. Some of you know Byron Katie. I think she's one of the best teachers in the world. And she once had her apartment completely burglarized. Everything was stolen. And when she got home, she said, well, I guess that they needed it more than me. She says, how do I know? Because they have it and I don't. They have it, I don't. So, whatever you lose, someone has. Oh, the other thing I wanted to mention is talking about kill or be killed. Jesus actually says, I don't know where it says in the course, but he says a number of times, do you want to be right or do you want to be happy? Choose one. You can't have both. And there's one place in the course he says, when you want to be right and make the other person wrong, you're actually killing them off. You're killing them off by your wanting to be right and seeing them as wrong. And I have given up being right a couple of years. Being right is really an ego trick, period.
Yeah.
Joanna, yes, go ahead.
Yep, just a quick comment. It brings around to the basic thing of nothing real can be threatened. Nothing unreal exists. Herein lies the peace of God.
Yes.
That's our discussion. Yeah. Thank you, people.
Okay, hi, Susan. I'll kill for here alone is choice. In the teacher's manual, section 17. It has been a good show, good day. Thank you all for being here, joining in, and Len, turning it back on over to you.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone. Love you.
Yeah, this has been really I just realized I didn't even have my camera on. This has been a really lovely sharing. You guys are just awesome, and this is why, I mean, it's such a wonderful thing that we joined together to do this, because we do get to see how is it working and how does it work in my life, rather than just this is a nice thing to read and I'm really going to try hard to do it. Here we can see our great examples, and I love it. Thank you all.